This is an extremely awkward moment on a blind date. A man and a woman meet for the first time, exchange a few words, and out of nowhere, the woman takes him to a jewelry store and demands that he buy her a gold bracelet. After the man refuses, he gets into a taxi to leave. But to his surprise, the woman emotionally breaks down and runs to the car, insisting that he pay the bill. The store attendant, desperate, also runs after them. What is the logic behind the woman's behavior? Perhaps, to her, if the man was truly interested in something serious, he should show it in some way. Or maybe it's a materialistic view, where the value of material things outweighs true feelings. Now, what does the man's refusal signify? Maybe he believes that before a relationship even begins, it's not worth making such sacrifices. Or maybe he simply isn't interested in her. As for the attendant who ran after them, he's just a typical bystander, caught between the couple, not knowing what to do and already so accustomed to this kind of situation. With so many films and jokes on the internet glorifying consumerism and money, it's easy to see how this influences young people. Over time, many start to believe that love without a material foundation is unstable. But those who have experienced it know that, in the end, dating and marriage are about two people. While material conditions are important, they are not everything.
Why is it that none of my boyfriends ever wanted to spend money on me, while other people's boyfriends seem eager to spoil them? I've asked myself this question countless times, and now I finally understand the reasons. The problem wasn't just them, it was also me. I was choosing the wrong people and not valuing myself enough, which set the stage for disappointment. First, I often picked stingy men or those who simply didn't have the means to spend. Reliable men, the kind who believe the man should shoulder more financial responsibility in a relationship, exist, but I wasn't choosing them. Instead, I ended up with men who would only spend money reluctantly or who would demand it all back after a breakup. Some even believed I should pay more or expected me to financially support them, which, in hindsight, is absurd. I also realized that some men didn't feel spending on me was worth it. In situations where we met through blind dates or other arranged settings, there was no genuine connection driving them to invest in a relationship. Other times, a man might have started off generous but gradually stopped. Why? Because I wasn't showing appreciation. I didn't celebrate his efforts, and over time, he stopped trying. Looking back, I see that I was too focused on being low maintenance. I was constantly saving, splitting bills, and settling for less. This taught them to treat me the same way. It's like they mirrored how little I thought of myself. Another harsh truth I had to face was that my behavior often caused my value in the relationship to drop. I started off appearing confident and stable, but when challenges arose, I showed emotional instability. I lacked problem-solving skills and would sometimes threaten to break up over minor issues. That kind of uncertainty makes anyone hesitant to invest emotionally or financially. One of my biggest mistakes was making things too easy for them. I gave too much of myself without making them work for it. When you don't value yourself, others won't either. Now I understand the importance of encouraging a partner to invest in you, not through demands, but by fostering a connection where they want to give freely and happily. Finally, I realized I wasn't asking myself the most important question. Why should they spend on me? Relationships are about give and take. If I wanted someone to invest in me, I needed to offer something valuable in return, whether it was emotional support, shared goals, or a deep connection. This journey has been eye-opening. If you've faced similar situations, take a step back and reflect. Sometimes, it's not just about finding the right partner. It's about becoming the right partner. Value yourself, set boundaries, and make sure your actions reflect the worth you want others to see in you.
I'll never forget that moment. He looked at me with that smile and said, "I love you." Those words, in that moment, seemed sincere, but soon reality hit me. I realized that, no matter what he said, he wasn't willing to invest in me, emotionally or financially. It wasn't just about presents or expensive dinners, it was about the fact that he didn't even care to spend the minimum to make me feel valued. And I, afraid of seeming materialistic, felt embarrassed to ask for anything. The truth came to light on an ordinary afternoon when I finally decided to ask, "Why don't you try a little harder?" And he responded with a forced smile, "You're too materialistic. I love you, but I'm not going to waste money." At that moment, everything made sense in a cruel way. His love was actually empty, because he wasn't willing to show, even with simple gestures, how much he loved me. And he still tried to make me feel guilty, as if I were wrong for expecting the bare minimum of care and respect. True love isn't just about pretty words. It's about action, it's about willingness, it's about showing that you matter to someone in every possible way. And him? He was so comfortable in the relationship, not wanting to do anything that required even the smallest sacrifice. He wanted to be with me, but only as long as he didn't have to step out of his comfort zone. And every day, I found myself further and further away from who I truly was, accepting crumbs, because deep down I knew he wasn't investing in us. He didn't truly love me. He wasn't spending time, energy, or even a little bit of money. And the worst part? When I finally asked the obvious question, he looked at me with that arrogant gaze and said, "You're materialistic. I'm not going to spend money without knowing if this will work." That's when I realized, it wasn't about the money. He simply didn't want to value me. He didn't see me as someone worth making an effort for. I fell for the lie of thinking that his love was enough. But it's not. True love shows itself in actions. And if he's not even willing to move a little to demonstrate that you matter, then he doesn't love you. And me? I'll never accept being treated like that again. If you're not willing to invest in what you say you love, then do me a favor and leave. Because I deserve more.
I went on a date recently, and when it came time to pay the bill, he looked at me and said it would be better to split it. Honestly, I was shocked. It's not that I expect the man to always pay, but the way he justified it left me thinking, and honestly feeling a mix of anger and frustration. He started by saying that dating is too expensive nowadays. According to him, spending money on dates isn't worth it because there's no guarantee it will work out. Basically, he was more concerned with protecting his wallet than enjoying the experience of getting to know someone. That's when I realized that, to him, a relationship seems more like a transaction than a meaningful exchange of feelings. And it didn't stop there. He mentioned he can't afford to support someone else and doesn't even own a car or house, as if that automatically excused him from making any effort at all. Fine, no one expects luxury, but is splitting the cost of dinner really about money? Or is it about a lack of interest and commitment? What irritated me most was when he said, "I don't want to be a guy who chases." He believes that if a connection is real, no one should have to put in any effort. Seriously? Since when does being in a relationship mean no one has to try? It seems like he wanted something easy, without challenges, without real involvement. He ended his speech with a gem: "Women expect too much these days, and men are tired of spending money just to get criticized." So let me get this straight, wanting attention, effort, and a display of genuine interest is now asking for too much? Is the issue really about money, or is it about the unwillingness to invest in something beyond convenience? That date left me feeling like some men are becoming more and more detached. It's not about splitting the bill, it's about the mindset of not wanting to risk anything, emotionally or financially. And if this is the new trend, I'd rather stay single.
Such a strange situation, right? It happens every year, but this year it's been especially exaggerated. Before, we had that guy who ran away from the bill on a blind date, and now we have one who simply refuses to pay. Let me tell you what happened. A girl went on her first blind date with a guy. She brought her parents, her friends, and some colleagues. The dinner cost $1,980. After everyone finished eating, the guy turned to them and said, "Uncles, aunts, brothers, and sisters, are you all done eating? Are you all full?" Everyone replied that they were. Then the guy turned to the girl and asked, "Well, we've eaten, we've met, now I just want to know, are you interested in me?" The girl, without hesitation, replied, "You don't meet my criteria. In other words, I'm not interested in you." The guy, without missing a beat, said, "All right, since you're not interested, I don't need to stay here either." He then called the waiter and said, "About this bill, I'll pay $230, the rest is on her." The girl got upset and said, "I came here for this date with you, and you're not going to pay? Are we splitting it?" The guy responded, "If you had been interested in me, I would have paid. But since you're not, why should I pay?" The girl retorted, "But I brought my parents, my friends, and colleagues. Why didn't you say anything earlier?" The guy then replied, "You know how many people you brought? I've been trying to be patient with you. You brought your parents, fine, I can accept that. But now you brought so many other people, what is this? 2 friends, 2 male colleagues, what do you take me for? A person who just pays for everyone? Or do you think I'm a fool? You don't respect me, so fine, I'll pay my part, but nothing more. After saying that, he left, slamming the door. So, what do you think about this? Let's talk in the comments. If a man is unwilling to spend money on you, unwilling to invest financially in you, it means he doesn't love you. Is this statement absolute? Absolutely. No arguments accepted. On the contrary, if a woman in love doesn't spend money on her partner, it also means she doesn't love him that much. Because to avoid future complications, she makes everything clear from the start. She's already prepared to walk away at any moment. Love doesn't mean a woman has to spend a man's money, or depend on him to survive. But money in itself can reveal a lot of things, especially about human relationships. Words alone aren't enough. It's in crucial moments that it becomes clear who matters more to him, you or the money. Take ourselves, for example. When I love someone, I genuinely want, from the bottom of my heart, to buy things they like, to fulfill their needs. If they are happy, I'm happy. If I have the money to buy for them, I will. Aren't you like that too? Many aspects of a relationship are shared. If I'm upfront about this, and you call me materialistic or realistic, aren't those just excuses to avoid taking responsibility? You say you love me, but how do you show it? Just sweet words? The reality is you want to use the guise of a relationship, to avoid spending anything, to sleep with me, to marry me, to have children with me, all without investing a single penny, expecting to gain everything for free. Aren't you the materialistic one? Don't be so shameless. If you value money so much, and still claim to love me, what kind of love is that? Maybe money doesn't explain everything, but it does explain the main issues. I might not ask for your money. You might not spend money on me, and I can solve my own problems independently. But in that case, if I'm so independent, shouldn't you just leave? I know how to say sweet words as well as you do. I know how to charm people as well as you do. If I, as a single woman, can handle everything on my own, then please remember, a man who isn't willing to spend money on you, no matter how well he talks, don't believe him, and above all, don't marry him. If he's unwilling to spend while you're dating, imagine what he'll be like after marriage. Everything will be split down to the last penny. Will you marry him just to frustrate yourself? Listen, don't be stubborn. Now, to the married women. If your husband doesn't give you money, and you're taking care of the children and can't work at the moment, do whatever you can to find a balance, as long as he contributes financially. But if you can work, prioritize financial independence. Have your own income. Take care of yourself and your children. And what about him? You decide who he will be to you. Because, in the end, to survive, we wear heavy masks to face the world.
It goes like this: a man enters your life, he's willing to spend money on you, but suddenly, without warning, he stops. And you ask yourself why? The first mistake lies in how you interpret his mindset. When he decides to spend money on you, he's operating within his own value system. He's asking himself, why should I buy her this Apple product instead of something like an LG? It's not random, it's because he's a man, and men generally prioritize functionality over looks. For example, when buying a car, we women tend to choose the most beautiful ones, while they prefer the most practical ones, thinking, if I'm going to spend this much, it better be worth it. For them, every penny should be well spent. And when you don't recognize that, that's when the cracks in the relationship begin. The big mistake many women make is imposing their own expectations without considering his values. When you do that, you're essentially rejecting his efforts, dismissing his reasoning. What could have been a conversation about preferences, do I want something affordable or just something pretty, turns into a judgment. You label him as cheap or stingy, turning his generosity into something negative. And this mistake doesn't stop there. When you buy something for yourself and instead of letting it go, you start competing with him, showing, look, you didn't buy it for me, but I bought it myself. At that point, you're digging an even deeper hole. Why? Because by showing off your independence this way, he's no longer just frustrated, he feels disrespected. In his mind, it translates into, she's stubborn, doesn't need me, and doesn't value my role. It's no longer about money, it's about pride, and you've just hurt his. What could you have done? First option, accept what he offers, even if it's not your dream gift. Thank him for the effort, use the gift, and over time, gently guide him toward what you really want. Second option, embrace vulnerability. Say something like, I love the effort you're putting into this. I know the Apple product is great, but what would make me happier is that other one over there. This makes him feel appreciated, keeps the door open for discussion, and ensures that he doesn't feel unappreciated. Even if he insists on his choice at most, he might ask you to cover the difference. But respect and partnership remain intact. The worst-case scenario is when you buy something for yourself and stay quiet. When he notices, instead of escalating the conflict, disarm the situation. Say, I loved your suggestion, but I couldn't resist. I didn't want to upset you, so I ended up buying it myself. I'm so happy with my choice, and I hope you understand why I did it. This little act of honesty dissolves the tension and, more importantly, doesn't close the door to future gifts. If you're feeling bolder, you can even go further. Playfully add, honey, I couldn't resist this time, but next time I'll follow your advice. And by the way, you were going to get me something, right? So how about helping me with this difference? The key here is to align, not oppose. Remind him that his efforts matter, and make your own desires part of a shared journey. It's not about manipulation but understanding and collaboration. Because in the end, all roads lead to connection.
The wave of men distancing themselves from responsibility is growing rapidly, and there's no stopping it. In recent years, the so-called puppy dog economy became temporarily popular, driven by the force of capitalism. However, today this economic model is on the brink of collapse. The male demographic is gradually waking up, no longer willing to be bound by the idea that they must pay for love. At every birthday and holiday, it's expected that men choose thoughtful gifts for women and express their feelings through specific money transfers, like codes such as 1314520. Doesn't that sound absurd? These kinds of expectations and behaviors, which place a heavy burden on men, have sparked rebellion. Men are loudly calling for freedom, aiming to break free from the unequal chains in male-female relationships. They refuse to continue being the ones who give endlessly with no return. As a result, the romantic myths created by cosmetics, flowers, and diamond rings are starting to crumble. Marriage and children are no longer seen as burdens that young people must carry. More and more men are waking up, realizing that instead of trying to please others, it's better to take care of themselves. They're rejecting the puppy dog role and advocating for equal emotional relationships, emphasizing the importance of mutual effort in romantic interactions. They are standing up, bravely voicing their internal frustrations and discontent. Under the pressure of capitalism, many men have been transformed into silent providers, bearing the ever-increasing standards women set for their potential partners. Even when they work their hardest to earn money, many still can't afford to support two people living in exhaustion. But these long-standing, unfair situations can't hold up forever. According to official data from the Ministry of Civil Affairs, marriage rates have drastically declined over the last 2 years. In the first 3 quarters of this year alone, there were only 4.7 million marriages registered nationwide. In Hong Kong, the number dropped by 943,000, marking the lowest point in 40 years. Among young people aged 25 to 29, the rate of unmarried individuals has reached 50%, and late marriages, or even opting out of marriage altogether, have become the norm. Some experts claim this is because today's youth are overly self-centered, focusing too much on personal development and pleasure. In short, they say they lack a sense of responsibility. But in my view, the reality is the opposite. Today's generation is, in fact, the most responsible. The goal of an ordinary life has always been to settle down and establish a career. However, many young people, due to the instability of their careers, fear they won't be able to provide a good environment for future children, which is why they're choosing not to marry for now. In the past, early marriage and childbearing were the trends, but times have changed. Today, people place more value on personal growth and the freedom to choose. Marriage, once seen as a mandatory task, is now transformed into a heavy responsibility. What's your opinion on this dilemma? Do you think the puppy dog economy is really coming to an end? If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.